Hey guys, it's Judy, your pampered chef consultant. And today we're going to do some tacos, and so I thought I'd do a new video showing you some of my suggested secrets on a good way to make them, and some other fast food prep suggestions as well. I have hot water heating in the back. Let me get that. All right. Then I need a fork. Basically, this recipe calls for ground beef, and I'm going to get that in there because my pan's really hot right now. And what I'm going to do, just cut the container open because I don't see the pull part. Great thing about these scissors is they come apart for cleaning, so if you get food stuff in them, they'll be in really good shape. I'm going to turn my flame down because this is going to sizzle quite a bit. But basically this recipe is just 1 pound of hamburger. And I like to break the hamburger up before I put it in the pan, which is another reason why I've got the gloves on. These are food safe gloves. And I just like to chunk it up a little bit. Now, while I'm doing this, let me tell you some of the suggestions they have. You know, a lot of people buy these things at big stores. They may buy 2 or 3 pounds or more at a time. And so there's a couple of suggestions with what to do with it when you get it home. Largely with the way that you're going to store it. So if you normally make like hamburgers or hamburger patties, well, when you get the hamburger home, since you're working anyway, unpacking and repacking and putting stuff in the freezer, why not just go ahead and make those hamburger patties and then put them in a freezer bag? Then when you need to cook in a hurry, the patties are already made. That's number one. Number two, if you make a lot of different sauces, like I'm making here for tacos, or like spaghetti sauce or any kind of other meat sauce, then go ahead and make it. Let it cool completely, put it in a freezer safe bag, and then store it in the freezer. But store it flat. So you want to take a storage bag, and it can be one of our reusable bags or one of these things that you can buy in the store, but get it as flat in the bag as you can. You want to do that for 2 reasons. Number one, it's going to freeze faster. Number two, it'll stack in your freezer. And number three, it'll defrost faster. And number four, if you forget to take it out of the freezer, you can drop it in the frying pan and it will defrost much faster in the pan. So a lot of reasons to do it that way. You can also store your raw, oh my hair. You can also store your raw ground meat that same way. Lay it flat, get it as flat as you can in the bag, all the air out, seal it, put it in the freezer. Then when you need to use it, it's ready to go. If you do a lot of spaghetti sauce, or if you do a lot of taco sauce like I've got going here, or that I'm trying to make here, taco meat, go ahead and prep it. Go ahead and cook the meat. Cool it, put it in a Ziploc bag, put it in your freezer. It's ready to go when you need it. So then all you have to do is pull it out. And if you don't remember to pull it out, you can always pull it out and put it in the microwave, and it'll defrost so much faster because it's flat. But your meal's basically cooked. So what I'm doing is I broke the hamburger up, and I'm going to turn this so you can kind of see my frying pan. Hopefully I won't make you too seasick here. But basically this is one of my gadgets. This is called the Mix and Chop, and I will tell you it's one of my favorites. This is our newest line of pans, and it's part of the Brilliance collection, and I just love it. I've really enjoyed using it. Now, what I do when I'm browning ground beef, another hint they tell you is to make sure that it's as flat as possible in the pan. And you do that so it cooks more evenly, but so that it browns it's not steaming, because if you have too much in here, if you have like a layer this thick in there, it's basically just steaming the meat. It's not frying the meat. It's not browning the meat. And I usually, before I start using this, will let it cook for a minute, because I want it to be more firm on the bottom. Otherwise, it tends to stick to this gadget. So I do this a lot. Now you can use any one of our brand new spatulas if you like to cook with a spatula. We also have a mix and chop spatula, scoop spatula, that looks like this, and it will actually drain. So, but it works very similar to what this works. So you just go around and you twist and you cook. And I'm going to turn it back up a smidge. So the meat is browning. I'm going to let that go for a minute. While that's going, I'm going to tell you about this. Now we have this seasoning that's called Everything Taco. I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's called Everything Taco. And the recipe says for about a tablespoon of Everything Taco per pound of ground beef. Now what I'm going to do is add this to hot water, because you need hot water in here too. And I'm going to mix it up real good. The reason I do this is because if I add the powder directly to the hamburger, it tends to go in there in clumps, and this will actually mix in better. Okay, so I'm going to take, another one of my favorite gadgets is the wooden spatula, the teak spatula. It moves around stuff, and if I'm in a non-stick surface or one that tends to scratch, then I'll tend to use something like this to move the food around. Okay, so I'm letting it cook some more. And then I'm going to show you what the next step is once this gets well cooked. Now I already have my oven warmed up, and what I typically do, it's just the way that we do it, you do it your way, is once the meat's cooked, there, I will take a taco shell. We usually use the ones that stand up, and I will put my grated cheese in here, and then I'll take the meat that's been cooked and has the sauce in it and everything, and put it on top, and then I bake it that way. That bakes the shells, but it also reheats the meat and melts the cheese at the same time. Then we just throw our lettuce and tomato, and he throws his hot sauce on top, and we're ready to go. But basically, you just want to keep breaking up the meat. And, I mean, it couldn't be easier, especially if you're using a non-stick skillet. Trying to get rid of all the pink. Make sure that it gets really well cooked. Because when I put it in the oven, it's not going to be in there really long enough to cook the meat. It's going to be in there just long enough to crisp up the shells and melt the cheese, which should be melting a little bit because of the meat going in it. Okay, that's starting to look like it's ready. Now, one of the things I like to do is to drain the meat, and I've done this a couple of ways. I will take like a turkey baster, but honestly you have to use a stainless steel one because this grease is pretty hot, and so it doesn't work very well. So what I will typically do is take, this is one of our mixing bowls, but it serves well here because it's actually something you can heat in the microwave, so it'll hold heat pretty well. And then I take our colander and set it inside it, so it's nested like that. And then I'm simply going to take the meat out, and I'm going to turn it off right now. But I'm going to take the meat out, spoon it into here. That way it completely drains the fat off that's in there. And then I will take a bunch of paper towels, wipe out the pan, then the meat's going to go back in there with that taco seasoning that I showed you earlier and the water. And then it will go until it cooks into the meat. and then I'm gonna make tacos from it. Now, another thing you can do with this, and at some point I will show you guys, but it takes more hamburger than I had out today, is a taco ring. The taco ring is made by, that out of the way, is made using crescent rolls. There's probably an easier way to do this, but this is how I'm doing it. But basically, you just wipe out the pan, because I want to get the excess oil out of it. So I'm going to wipe out the pan. And it's kind of warm, so you want to be careful doing this. But you see how clean that pan is? I mean, really. And it's dishwasher safe. So you can throw it in the dishwasher when you're done. Okay, pan's ready. They have the meat added back. So then all I have to do is add the meat back. But by draining it the way I did, I got rid of that grease. So that's ready. And those both the colander and the bowl are dishwasher safe as well. Okay, so next stage, get the fire back on. And I always go with a medium heat, particularly on our nonstick stuff. You don't want to be at high heat because it tends to break down the nonstick surface. So, I'm going to add this in. And basically, that's it. I'm just going to cook it down until all of the moisture is absorbed into the meat, or just evaporates. And by then the meat should taste good. And then, as I said, I drop some cheese in the shell, spoon a little hamburger on top, and once I'm done with that, filling up all the shells, they go into the oven for about 7 to 10 minutes. And then supper's on. While they're in the oven, I'll be chopping up lettuce and tomato. So that's my little demo on how to do this. Now, if you weren't going to eat tacos tonight, you simply take this, let it cool, put it in a Ziploc bag, seal it really well, put it in the freezer flat. So it'll freeze better, it'll stack better, and that's that. Whew. It's heck to get old and start getting thin hair. That's all I'm going to say about that. So watch for another video. I got in my Taste Buds subscription, monthly subscription, and watch for the video in it. I'll tell you more about it in that video, but in this video I'm going to tell you Taste Buds is a subscription service that we have that allows you to bring new spices into your kitchen once a month, and it comes with recipe cards so that you can start to expand the things you're doing in your kitchen, so you're not always doing just the same old, same old. So watch for the other video, and I'll see you soon. Bye now. Love ya.